Welcome to another Ask Vince podcast. I'm your host, Tom Leonardis, aka Leo. I'm here with the one and only
Just
Vince
moping around
Gabriel.
and just moping around the office all
At,
day,
at this point, I might just start doing a infomercial,
whining,
but
whining, complaining about shit.
I don't think I complained much today at all. Maybe one or two times. Um, but welcome. We're here. I'm. I know it's not that. I don't say I'm exhausted from the 900 million leads that we got from people downloading this book that you wrote.
Well,
Again,
my friend Justin Rabinowitz, he posted a video of him in his mastermind. He does a mastermind for rehab chiropractors, and he said, and I agree with this, and I've said this before too, is that the number one job of a marketer is to drive the salespeople crazy. So I could give two shits about what's going on with you guys and your emotions and the need and the things that you need to work on your own time. Of you have too much work to do and too many things going on. Uh, Not my problem. So
listen, I'm not complaining at all right now. That's why you got me Jack. I'm in heaven right now. So, but speaking of the book, I did want to actually. I have a few questions on it because there's a lot of trainers are coming in from a lot of different things and that kind of stuff. But people want to know how like they can read it, but how do they actually implement it? What would be the kind of the action you would give some like a newbie gym owner that wants to add small or create their own gym and do small group training there, or an established gym owner? What would their approach be, and how would it differ on in the book?
yeah, I think it matters on where they're starting. Obviously, there's certain people that are doing small group training currently. And if they're following, a decent model similar to the model that I outlined and the price point is right, I think that would probably be the first place that I would go is making sure that the price point is right. And looking at the formula that I go over in there's a whole chapter on pricing. Chapter 5, how much to charge for small groups on page 67. But that is basically going through a formula and looking at your formula and seeing how much you're charging when you take how many people you allow into a session, you multiply it by how much you're charging, and is that enough money? If you stack a bunch of those together, is that enough money that you want to make? So I think that's the first thing for people with existing models is to make sure that the price is right and it's not large group disguised as small group with only 6 people, which is like deadly. Right, it's totally deadly. I felt so bad for this guy one time. I did a call with him and I felt like terrible. I was like, my empathy, it wasn't empathy, it was sympathy. It was sympathy. I felt so bad for this guy. But he was like charging like $12 a session for small group and had four people in a session. I was like, bro, I was like, you realize you might as well just charge $60 an hour for one-on-one and you're going to be ahead of the game. You only need to find one person instead of four. So I think some people just have to make sure they're doing the math properly. So that would be the first thing is addressing, and the reason why you would do that first is to make sure the price is right, is because the second thing you need to do is marketing, right? And understand how to market small group better. But what you don't want to do is bring a bunch of people in at a low price point.
Yep.
So that will be by why you fix price first and then move to marketing after. So I think that the market for people with existing small group, the marketing chapter will be really, really helpful for them because it teaches you how to clarify your marketing, your target market, your message, and then the different things that you should be doing to get people in the door for small group. It also goes a little deep into different things to say. One of the things that I learned from Dan Kennedy was if you want to go broke in the weight loss business, start, talking about feeling really good and losing weight and stuff like that. And it was like I think he was like kind of tongue in cheek saying this, but he basically it got down to um, people want you don't go broke in the weight loss business by talking about revenge. And so, and basically the way what he talked about is like, what do people really want? They really want revenge. And think about how most people, let me tell a story about this to prove this point. Okay. I was a trainer at Fitness Quest, and I had these two clients. They were both pretty overweight people. They were boyfriend and girlfriend. And they both had like doctors yelling at them, you guys need to lose weight. You guys need to lose weight. If you don't lose weight, you got serious bad stuff's going to happen. I worked with them for a year. Didn't lose a freaking pound. Neither of them. And they like, and they were at the point where like they were that heavy that they should have lost pounds just by like looking at a rice cake, right? So it's like the
I like that one.
so so one day the guy comes in and the gal wasn't there. I was like, where's so and so? I don't want to use their name. I was like, where's so and so? They're like, we broke up. I was like, all right. And he looks at me and he goes, we got to get moving. And he came every day for like a year. Didn't miss a workout. Would come early on the treadmill, work out for an hour, and then do the session with me. Dude lost like 200 pounds. No joke. We're still friends today. Like, I keep in touch with him. He's a great guy. Love him. But why your doctor just told you that bad things are going to happen to you if you don't lose weight. You don't do anything, but then all of a sudden you break up with a girlfriend, and now you start going. Why do you want that? Well, it could be revenge. It could be you got to get back out there. But think about like reunions. Why are people so fed up with why are people so adamant on getting ready for a reunion? Right? Why do people want to show up to a wedding and look really good at the wedding, right? They want to prove a point. They want to show. And so a lot of times people don't go into that in marketing. They stay on the surface of lose weight, get healthy, all of this stuff. And while some of it will work, and I'm trying to turn to the page where I pull out some of the headlines. But hold on, some of these are really good. So I used this series of bullet points for a long time, and it was really, really effective. And so this was like to promote one of my challenges. I think it was a 6-week challenge or something like that. And I said, this program is perfect if you have any of the following on the horizon. And so what I did was I started to think about what are the things that people really get focused for and adamant around. And one of them is an important wedding. You need to look and feel your best, right? So think about the bride getting ready, think about the mother of the bride getting ready, think about even the groom, like, right. They want to like look like, right. So some of that, an upcoming class reunion, a big milestone birthday. Think of how many people have come to you and been like, dude, I'm turning 50. I got to get going. Blah, 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 blah. These big milestones, like the birth of a new child, a career change. You're considering retiring. You got a recent scolding from your doctor, which is the last one because it's not as effective. So I think sometimes, we scrape the surface in marketing with these lukewarm stuff of lose weight, feel great, gain energy. And I've used that stuff too. And I still use that stuff. Right. But sometimes we need to shake people up a little bit. Right. And we need to kind of like say things that are like, yeah. That is me. Because pretty much everyone in your market has one of those things that I just mentioned. Every one of them. And even a guy like I'm turning 45 next week or and next month. Like, and so I'm 45. I'm like, right, 50s next. So even if you're in the mid part, you're still thinking about that. And I called it out. And so that's like the whole, I think it's Gene Schwartz. It's like, you got to enter the conversation already going on in the prospect's mind. And sometimes you need to write things and create things. So I think that's what the marketing chapter will do for your existing business. It will help you take your marketing game to like a little bit of a higher level as opposed to these kind of lukewarm types of things. And you will start getting responses from people saying, yes, dude. Yeah, you were talking to me. You hit me right where it needed to be. And we had tons of people respond to those bullet points, citing those bullet points as, yes, that's exactly what I was needing.
That's perfect. And definitely puts into perspective how to use that book and what a powerful tool it is.
And I did end one because I do know the power of a divorce. And I do believe one of the best joint ventures is a divorce lawyer.
Hmm.
Right? If you think about it, every
Yeah.
person that we've ever had that's come in that's been divorced, they have lost the most weight and done the best and been the most motivated. Every person, every divorced person does the best. And so, like, what is a divorce lawyer? Divorce lawyer is a funnel to people that are like ready to go. They're ready to spend any amount of money. They're ready to do whatever you need to do. They're ready to buy all the supplements. They're ready to do everything because of the situation that they're in their life. So again, so that's the marketing chapter. I go into a little bit of some higher level writing and copy and stuff like that. And so I think the marketing chapter will kind of take your marketing game to another level in the book.
That's awesome. And I know that we've done this in the past too, where for challenges and things like that, that we would get like 30, 35 people into a challenge and convert at a high level. But what is the nowadays, post COVID kind of a thing, what is the best and fastest way if you don't have the money to go and get ads right now to get small group clients? What would you do to get 20 small group clients as fast as you could?
My answer is always joint ventures.
Always.
Yeah, it's always joint ventures. It's like you put a gun to my head, you tell me I need to get clients fast. You go to another person's list because that person has already done the work. They've already acquired the lead, and then many times they've already built the relationship with the lead.
Mm-hmm.
And a referral to your business is almost like, a good referral. So that is where I would go. We had an example just recently where we went to a local new condo complex. Mike, the guy sitting behind you, he went and we actually, um, Mike takes my ideas and looks good with them, right? But one of the ideas I gave Mike was to this housing complex was like in eyes distance of our gym. So he walked out the side door of the gym. He held the camera up, and you could see their building behind us. And he started the video with like, "Hey, I'm Mike Mullen. I'm the head trainer at Gabriel Fitness. You see that building behind me? That's where you live." Right. And he did the video specifically for them. And that was on the landing page. And we ended up getting, I think we got, I don't remember the numbers, but I know we have close to 15 people on a trial right now from that one email. One email was sent for that. Right. Because that's like, boom, a bunch of people right away there. And I think people also underestimate the power of proximity. Like, people aren't going to travel 20 minutes to a gym 3 times a week for a long period of time. You maybe get some that will, but the majority won't. And I think that proximity, when someone is really close to you, that is of massive value. So I will double down. We do so the another example of that is so we do sponsorships for our youth program. And one of the things that we do for the sponsorships is we spend more money on our direct immediate town. So my gym's in Berkeley Heights, and we actually up the amount of money that we pay to that one because we want to make sure that relationship is solidified because we're always going to get the most amount of people from that because it's in our town. So I think
Mm-hmm.
people underestimate proximity and underestimate the efforts that they should make with local businesses, with local organizations in their very direct area. And I think sometimes they feel like, oh, I've hit everyone. Everyone know. I heard some dumbass say this. He's like, oh, yeah, if they don't know me by now, it's like we've been here. He said, like, we've been here 8 years. If they don't know me by now, and I just like put my hand on my forehead and was just like, oh God, please stop. But like, no, like you have to like the example is always this. I always do this when I get on calls and I do like either a webinar or a coaching call, like people that are not in the SPF mastermind, right? And I always ask the question. I was like, all right, and I'll call someone out. I was like, all right, I'm just using his name. Say, John, all right, you're here. This is your first call you've ever been on with me. How long have you been on my email list? And he'll say like 5 years. And I do the math. I was like, all right, cool, 5 years. That's 365 times 5. So whatever that is, 365 times 5. And it's always like it's called a dramatic
1825.
So 1825. So I've spent I sent this gentleman 1,825 emails. And on the 1,825th email, he decides to come on a call.
Yep.
Think about that. Right? If you really think about that, that does, and it's not logical at all. It's just like, whoa, like, is that like you wouldn't even think that to even like, but no, it's just like you need to just keep showing up, and the consistency of it is super important. I, I will say this: I am nothing special. But there's one thing I do got, and that is consistency. Like I will just show up. I'll record this podcast every day. I'll write the email every day. I'll do what I need to do, and I'll show up and do it. It may not be awesome, but I'll show up and do it every day. And I do believe after a while that compounds and that wins. And so I think that, people need to understand that such an important success habit is just to keep showing up and to keep sending the emails and to keep reaching out to joint ventures. And, you know, what about asking again?
Yep.
How about that? Like, what about a joint venture ghosts you and you reach out to a joint venture and you sent an email and maybe you put your heart and soul into the email and they didn't get back to you. Like, why, instead of maybe getting your feelings hurt about it, why don't you just send another email?
Or just knock on the door.
Yeah, or yeah, just walk over there. That's like the old Hashi trick. He just like walks over there, right? But a long-winded answer to your question is, and I'm all over the place today. But a long-winded answer to your question is, I would do some type of joint venture, some type of partnership where, and I believe I recorded a podcast about this that people should definitely go back and listen to.
You did do a joint venture podcast.
I can't. I don't remember what podcast it was now. I've done so many in the
Yeah, I know
last
you did 7 in the last like 4 days.
well, I've done a podcast a day. During the launch, I'm doing a podcast a day. Because I just have so much content swimming around me. I just need to talk and get it out. Vanessa doesn't want to hear me, so I just talk into my phone and publish a podcast. But shoot, we should find that. Because I can't. I remember I recorded it in
I'll
my.
look for it after
I
this.
was I was walking around in my basement, and I remember I was like, "Oh, that's a good one."
It's recent.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'll find it. That or I'll have Cassie find it. One of the two. Awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh, so I didn't. Oh, so it's called The Most Important List You've Ever Made. I don't think we ever did that one. See, I recorded so many of these. I think some of them I forgot to send you. But yeah, so that podcast, when it comes out, it'll be titled The Most Important List You've Ever Made. I'll give you a little precursor of it, but I go through the list that you need to make of all the potential relationships that you can make in your community with businesses, with organizations, and I teach you the process of how to make that list. But that exercise is a game changer. So when that podcast gets released, definitely listen to that one. I'll make sure this is coming out on Thursday. I'll have this come out on a Friday. We'll send that bookmark that one to come out on Friday. But
Cassie, you have an assistant now.
yes. Oh my God, it's amazing.
So Cassie, make that happen on Friday. And she knew how to send an email in the first try too, which was even better.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
Awesome. No, perfect. Thank you for that one. Moving on. So I actually heard you do a couple interviews, and I hear you asking the questions. And Joe is fielding a lot of questions. I'm fielding a lot of questions about hiring and things like that. But more so, what to ask nowadays during the interview? That's like the ordinary stuff. Everyone does is one thing, but like you ask some questions, deep questions about family life and things like that too. What are some of the out of the ordinary questions you would ask during an interview nowadays to really find out who you're talking to?
I'll be honest with you, it hasn't changed.
Okay.
The type of questions I ask have not really changed. You kind of alluded to that. How has it changed in the last 5 years? I believe the process has changed in terms of the hires slow. I do think these days you need to speed it up, but I will say this, maybe not as much anymore. I do think that we've kind of hit, it is getting better, right? That I don't think we need to like rush it. We're at a period where I mean, I don't think it was like a couple years ago where you need to hire like on the first day. It was like when you bought a
It was
house
bad.
and like if you didn't give like a cash price, a full price cash offer, 100K over asking, like you weren't getting the house. So it was like that's what it was like. You had to just be like, oh, you can you have a resume? Oh, okay, you're hired. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what it was like. Um, but the line of questioning is, I think the first thing is you have to go into an interview knowing what is going to be a cultural fit. I do believe that Drucker has a quote that says culture eats strategy for breakfast, because um there's not a place for people that aren't cultural fits. I believe. I just think it's like it's 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 a hard thing for the other people on the team that are cultural fits to work with people that aren't. So I think the first thing people need to do is define that, right? And typically we define that through core values. Um, and if you don't have them, you got to get them. I would probably read probably the best book I would read is The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni. I think it's a great book to work on core values. You could also read Tony Hsieh's book, Delivering Happiness. But whatever it is, you need to have some type of definition of your culture, right? And then once you have a definition of your culture, you should go into the interview process asking yourself, is this person a cultural fit? Are they going to live these values? And you should build questions around that. Build questions around your core values that enable you to ask, um, to be able to pull answers from them that are going to demonstrate if they would display those values. And again, it's not a foolproof system, right? You got to take them through the process, and sometimes it doesn't work out. I will say this: the number one thing you need to do is have multiple options when you hire somebody. Like you can't just find one person. And the worst situation in hiring is when your back is against the wall and you've got to make a decision. That's the worst situation to be in. So push hard to have multiple options. So you aren't, because we only have one person. They all of a sudden you tell yourself they look really good,
Yep.
and they likely they're not. And I made this mistake. I made this mistake twice in COVID. Two
Yep.
times. Two times in the consulting business and another time in the gym.
Yep.
Um, that one was your fault, Leo. But anyway, that's beside the point. Um,
We had a lot of staff turnover.
yeah, but
Someone got burned
I
during
think
COVID.
most people did during COVID. So,
Yeah.
but that's what I was saying. So you want cultural fits, but also you want to look at, do they have the right skills for the job? Ideally, they were coming in with some kind of a skill set. Ideally, they're coming in and doing what you want them to do. In certain circumstances, yes, you may get them out of college and they come in and you got to teach them what they need to know. But if you're hiring like Cassie, the girl we just hired, she's young, right? But she had marketing experience. Some of it was an internship, some of it was, she had experience doing the things we did do. Not a lot, but enough that I don't have to like teach her how to like log into Google, so that she has enough experience, for that type of stuff. So I think that's cultural fit and some experience with the role. But really, to answer your question, I think it's so my mom was an HR manager. She knew that stuff pretty well, and I learned a lot from her. But I think it's like it's not about the initial questions you ask. It's more about like the follow-up questions that you ask, right? And so I'm trying to see if I can explain this, but when someone answers a question, um, you want to follow it up with a deeper question, because that there a lot of times their initial answer is like a surface area answer. And so when you ask them, well, why did you decide to do that? Or why was that important to you? And ask like a little bit more of a dig of a question, stuff will start to come out from there. And, I've had, multiple people get, I've I've had 3 or 4 people get like emotional in interviews, and it's always a little bit awkward. I feel very bad for them. But it really was just asking really good questions, and it took them in a place, that got emotional. And some of the people I actually ended up hiring. Some of the people I didn't, it wasn't like a deal breaker. But I think you start to see, people in a different light when you can ask really good questions.
Do you still think 7 steps, like a bunch of interviews, is the way to go, or is it more so like cut it off at like 3 now? It used to be 1, but now it's like how long should you make this process?
I still follow the hiring manual that I wrote.
Okay, cool.
So yeah,
The
it's
364.
basically, yeah, the 364. So it's basically, they do the phone interview, it's the initial resume, it's the phone interview, it's an in-person interview, it's some type of a shadow session. If they're not a trainer, I'll ask to see their work and demonstrate their work. And then it's typically, if I am making a really big hire, like if I was hiring like an executive or someone like that I'm going to pay a lot of money to, I would want to do like a dinner with me and Vanessa, and then take them out, see them in social settings, see if they don't like, see if they get drunk and like spill all over themselves, and if they, like I think it's so if I was making a big hire, I would do something like that as well.
Gotcha. Well, you alluded to culture, and that was my last question, which I know we know culture is super important. Our culture here is chop busting, and we chop bust on this podcast, and I get chop busted when I sneeze and walk down the hallway. But I thought you were going to throw that shirt out. Number one, I thought that was G-Man shirt you posted on Instagram yesterday, but he
This
redeemed
is the
himself.
new one. This is the
Oh, the
new one.
new one. Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I
check
don't
that
get
out.
one. I didn't get one. I'm just saying,
You didn't
but
help. You didn't help him go from
that's
7K to
true.
100K.
100K. Yes.
This is the
Very true.
cheapest. This is the cheapest shirt he's ever bought. It helped him make 100 grand a month.
I, I love it. G-Man's awesome. But a lot of people don't know how to define culture. They don't even know how to really. A lot of people use words, just words as core values, and it's not really resonating and doesn't resonate with what it really means. How do you? I know you said a couple books that they should read on it, but when you came up with your core values and the be on the bus, drama free, be productive, take action, stay fit, all those core values. What were you? How did you come about that? What did you do to do that?
Um, some of them came from stuff that wasn't happening that I wanted to see happen. So I can't say that we have the exact same core values as we did when we started. Um, some of them are like growth mindset, be a
Yep.
pro. Those were like, some of it is taking the core values of the owner and things that you really believe in, making them your core values. I believe that there should be some of them that are like they have your stamp, because at the end of the day, it is your business and you're going to have the biggest impact on the culture, right? So you should have, I don't think it's a free for all where you should just be like, hey, we guys, what do you want the core values to be? I think the owner needs to have a very strong, um, opinion on what the values are. But then what happens is like a lot of times things start to evolve over time. Or sometimes it's just the changing of a wording, or the changing of, hey, this one is not resonating a lot. I know that we use our core values in our language a lot. And sometimes I'll notice like we never ever talk about that value. We never ever talk about that one. It never even comes up. Maybe is, and sometimes you got to check and see if it actually is a core value or not. So I think it's an evolution. I think so. A lot of it stems, my short answer is this, a lot of it stems from the owner, what they believe in. And then after that, it's the involvement of the team to help solidify what the values are going to be, in the next generation, if you will. So um, most of them are stolen. I stole one of our core values is stay fit. And it's stay fit physically, mentally, emotionally. And the purpose of that one is you can't help other people if you don't, if you're a shit show yourself. And so that's really why we did it. And actually the one I stole it from was a church. There's a church down in Atlanta, Georgia, that had Stay Fit is one, and I was like, oh, that's like perfect. And our staff really likes that one, really likes that one. So much so that Joe Hashi decided to display our core value as a team. We'll all be doing 75 hard. So So sometimes it sucks for certain
No
people.
one told me about that until I got into that meeting today. So
Yeah. So
because you guys wait until the last second to tell me things. But one of the things that I actually really like that you do is your family values and how the family values and core values at your home, and they aren't the same as what they are here. Some are, but some aren't. And I took that and I ran with it too. How important is it to tie your? I know home and work have to be separate, but how's important to actually create that bond to allow for the home space and the workspace to create that culture that you're looking for, so you're not just always working. That's a hard thing for me to do, is not always work.
um I think that it's a learned skill. I think it takes time to be able to flip the switch, right? When coming from work mode to home mode to dad mode. I always tell, my business partner in KISS, he does not have any kids, and he'll be like on the phone and yakking in my ear, and I'll just be like, I walk in and kids are screaming and stuff's everywhere. I was like, sorry, well, I gotta go. I'm going to my second job now. And it's, it's like, so it's, here's the thing though. I think it's everyone I've kind of made this realization lately. I think it's different at different stages. And I think some people are like thrive in better stages than others. Like I was not a really good young kid dad. Like I didn't like think that they were that great. Like I wasn't like, I was like, oh, you're so good. I thought they were annoying. Like they couldn't talk to them. They're like little wind up toys. They're pooping all over themselves. Like, and again, like, yeah, if that offends somebody, I'm sorry. But it was just like it wasn't like super fun, honestly. I love them, but man, like my kids are now 8, 10, or 11 and 12. I am like the happiest dad in the world. Like this is like because now I get to do what I'm good at. Like I'm good at talking to them about life and talking to them about business and talking to them about sports and like wrapping it into life lessons and stuff like that. And we're connecting on such a high level. And so like I hit my stride with my kids. And again, I spent plenty of time with them, okay, when they were younger and stuff like that. And I did the whole, ring around the rosy thing. I did it, right? But now, like, I look forward to it, like big time. Like I love being a dad so much right now, so much. Um, and I just think that that's like, and I think I'll be like that way for the rest of their lives. I think I'll be a good dad when they're 20 and 30 and stuff because, um, I have that kind of coach mentality of helping them out and helping them talk through stuff and being there for them. But Vanessa was like, she was amazing when they were younger. She was that nurturing mom, and she was so good, and she played with them, and she was so present with them, and we love to talk about it. But so I don't know. I think sometimes you show up at better at different times,
Mm.
of their life based on your skill set, and you have to do your best at each one, and you learn on the fly at each one. It's like it's a challenging thing. It's not an easy thing to do, and I'm learning every day. I will say this, I learned the number one thing I think you can do for your children is to have a great marriage. And that's one thing I realized for a long time is that, that's the number one thing I can do for my kids is to model a love for their mother. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't always think that way.
Mm.
And I definitely, in the last several years have really come around to that obviously I love Vanessa, but one of the things that I can do, to model, for my kids is how I treat their mom.
Mm.
And but I heard this marriage advice recently from Brene Brown, and it was like the best piece of advice I got. There's certain times where balancing life and business gets hard, right? And it's hard on the owner of the business that has all the stress to try and keep things going. But it's also hard on the person that's taking care of that's primarily responsible for taking care of the kids. And basically, she gave this system that she uses with her husband. And there are certain times where you're feeling great and you got this. And then there's other times where you're just like, I'm fucking I'm getting killed right now by everything.
Yeah.
And what they do, and I thought this was brilliant, what they do is they give each other a percentage of where you at right now. Where you at right now? Where you at mentally? Where you at physically? Where
Hmm.
you at? And a marriage cannot be 50-50. Okay. It usually never is. And there's certain periods where I'm at 20% because I got all this things flying around. I'm stressed out. I didn't sleep well the other night and I'm just like getting crushed. And and Vanessa's like, all right, she's at 80%. So she's good. So she can pick up the slack for me. And together we equal 100%.
Hmm.
Right? So it's not 50-50, it's 80-20. Last night, because we're doing this, last night I asked her and I texted her and I just say, "Hey baby, where you at number wise?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm good." I was like, "What's your number?" She's like, 100. And I was like, "That's awesome. Me too." And
Hmm.
we just happened to have like a day where we were both on point. It doesn't always happen like that. Honestly, it rarely happens like that. But like we were both on, and it's like think of the success of our family if we're both on like now, but it's never going to always be like that. So there's certain days where she's down and I got to pick up the slack. And
Hmm.
so I think that that was like one of the best pieces of advice I've gotten of like having that communication, right? The communication back and forth of where you're at, where your spouse is at, and then being able to kind of talk to each other about it. And what Brene Brown said was, if you're below 100%, meaning let's say you're at 20 and your wife, let's say you're at 20, Leo, and your Kristen's at 20. If
Hmm.
you two are at 40%, your kid's only getting 40%.
Hmm.
And so what you got to do is you got to figure out a plan.
Yeah.
You got to figure out a plan of what you need to do. What do you need to call, your mother-in-law to come over and help out with the kids? Do you need to order food in where you're, just like you take the stress off? Do you need to call the cleaning lady to come an extra day of the week? It's just like we're both drowning right now. We need to figure this out,
Yeah.
and get back to where we need to be. Like maybe the best thing I know, like for me, like the best thing for Vanessa, if like she's really down, is that making sure she has time to get to the gym and work out and meditate and do all that stuff. And so like sometimes I need to help give her that time. But so I think it's like that tool has been a really helpful thing to do. But I think a lot of it comes back to communication,
Hmm.
um, of balancing it between you and your spouse, to be able to handle it all. So it's not easy to do. Uh, I always am on awe of Joe and Mel Hashi of how they do it. I mean, and I've been in their house, I've seen it, and they have 3 kids, and they're just amazing. And that's why. But here's the thing: that's one of the reasons why they're teaching it. Right? They're
That's
teaching
true.
it to people all across the country because they've got it. Right? They've got it. Vanessa and I are working hard at it. I wouldn't say we got it like Mel and Joe does, right? They're doing great, and that's why they're teaching it. But there's certain tools that we've been able to pick up along the way that were just really, really helpful, and that was one of them. So just that communication of where you're at, what's your number at? What's your number? Where are you
Yeah.
at? And we got to get to 100. Together, we got to get to 100.
Perfect. No, that's awesome. That's very helpful, especially right now when Kristen's pregnant with the other one. So she's always tired. So it's a little bit different, and it's a boy too. So I'm expecting that to be different as well than just Haley
Yeah,
running around.
yeah.
But that's all. I mean, that's all I have today. I do know we have a big thing coming up in our mastermind event. You want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, the mastermind's coming up in July. We have the great Mike Boyle speaking. I'm bringing in Brent Gallagher, who's a $2.5 million single location gym owner. which is ridiculous. I'll be doing a presentation on time. I'm going deep into my tool chest of time. If you guys have noticed, Leo, you being the brunt of it, I've been on people a lot lately
Yeah.
about wandering around and doing bullshit fake work. Um, I'm not tolerating it anymore. I'm not tolerating it anymore. And partly is I'm preparing for my ultimate time management system that I'm presenting at the mastermind. So I'm deep into all of that. And that's why I'm yelling at people all day long
I'm glad I
to
could be your inspiration.
stop interrupting me and bothering me with things that can wait to a meeting at 2 o'clock. Um, but I'll be talking a lot about time. We'll talk leadership. We'll talk about leadership and all the different phases of your business, right? There's a certain way that you lead your company in the very, very beginning. There's a certain way that you lead your business in stage 2, right? When you get a couple trainers underneath, there's a certain way you need to lead. And there's a whole different way you need to lead when you get to stage 3 and you have different people in full-time positions and stuff like that. So at whatever stage you're at, you need to be able to lead. It just may be a different style of leadership that you're going to need, but we'll be addressing all of those. And really, at the end of the day, too, for the gym owner that comes, it's it's enhancing your level of leadership so you can make more money and drive the profits up at your gym. Right. At the end of the day, it's like, yeah, it's great. I want you to lead, but I want you guys to be able to make more money so you can grow your
Mm.
company and grow your business. And as you enhance your level of leadership, the level of money that you will make will increase as well. So it's going to be on July 19th and 20th in New Jersey. Super excited for that. There's a link in the show notes. We will put that link in the show notes. There's a page that has the descriptions of all the different presentations and everything like that. So check that out, and hopefully you can join us.
Yeah. And if you love the podcast, make sure you follow or subscribe, whatever one it is now. They keep changing things on me. And we'll be back next week. Talk to you guys then.